Welcome to this evening's Muskogee Municipal Authority meeting, March 13th, 2017. Roll call, please.
Mayor Bob Coburn.
Here.
Deputy Mayor James Scully.
Here.
Dan Hall. Marlon Coleman. Janie Boydston.
Here.
Wayne Johnson.
Here.
Patrick Kale.
Here.
Ivory Van.
Here.
Jared Creed.
All right, regular agenda, item number 1.
Consider approval of MMA minutes of February 13, 2017, and special call MMA of March 7, 2017.
We'll consider both these together unless someone wants to separate them. Is there additions or corrections? And if not, I would entertain a motion to approve.
Move for approval.
Second.
Got a motion and a second. Any comment or question? Roll call.
Deputy Mayor James Scully.
Yes.
Janie Boydston.
Yes.
Patrick Kale.
Yes.
Wayne Johnson.
Yes.
Ivory Van.
Yes.
Mayor Coburn.
Yes. Motion carries. Item number 2.
Consider approval of MMA claims for month ending February 2017.
Mr. Miller.
Yes, this is our monthly transfer. We reimburse the city for expenditures incurred by the MMA, retaining the excess for the capital projects, which we've discussed very recently, and paying the debt service on loans we already have, and I recommend approval.
So moved.
Second.
A motion and a second. Any comment or question? Roll call.
Deputy Mayor James Scully.
Yes.
Janie Boydston.
Yes.
Patrick Kale.
Yes.
Wayne Johnson.
Yes.
Ivory Van.
Yes.
Mayor Coburn.
Yes, motion carries. That completes our agenda for the Muskogee Municipal Authority, and we will now go to our City Council agenda. And if you would join us, I will do the invocation. We'll then have a flag salute and roll call. Bow your heads with me if you would. Father, we just ask that you continue to love and bless our community. You have been so gracious to us. We have felt your favor, and we thank you for that. Continue to guide our community. Continue to guide our thoughts as we meet here tonight, that we would conduct ourselves in a way that would be becoming to you, that we would represent you and represent you well. Father, continue to love and bless this city as we move forward. In Christ's name we pray. Amen.
Amen.
Please join us for the flag salute. Attention, salute, pledge.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
What a great beginning to any meeting. Welcome to City Council meeting this evening. Let me say real quickly that litter free starts with me, and you're going to begin to see these wraps on some of the vehicles and these magnets on some of the vehicles. The cleanup starts, the citywide cleanup starts March 22nd and runs through the 25th. So join us in that effort. We need all the help we can get. Approval of the minutes for, roll call. Thank you.
Mayor Bob Coburn.
Here.
Deputy Mayor James Scully.
Here.
Dan Hall. Marlon Coleman. Janie Boydston.
Here.
Wayne Johnson.
Here.
Patrick Kale.
Here.
Ivory Van.
Here.
Jared Creed.
We are accounted for, most of us. We've got a couple folks out sick. Do we need to entertain a motion on that?
Move to excuse all 3 council members.
Okay.
Second.
Second on that. Any comment or discussion? Roll call.
Deputy Mayor James Scully.
Yes.
Janie Boydston.
Yes.
Patrick Kale.
Yes.
Wayne Johnson.
Yes.
Ivory Van.
Yes.
Mayor Coburn.
Yes. Now we'll look at the minutes from February 27th, 2017 meeting. Is there additions or corrections to those? If not, entertain a motion.
Move the approval.
Second.
Got a motion and a second. Any comments? Roll call.
Deputy Mayor James Scully.
Yes.
Janie Boydston.
Yes.
Patrick Kale.
Yes.
Wayne Johnson.
Yes.
Ivory Van.
Yes.
Mayor Coburn.
Yes, motion carries. Items 1 through 6 on the consent agenda, and I understand there's one that we need to move to regular agenda. Mr. Johnson, is that true on item number 6?
Yes, I'd like to remove item number 6 from the
Okay,
normal
so we'll
agenda.
be considering items 1 through 5 unless anybody needs to move any of those to regular agenda. If not, I'll entertain a motion on items 1 through 5 on the consent agenda.
Move for approval.
Second.
Got a motion and a second. Any comment or question? Roll call.
Deputy Mayor James Scully.
Yes.
Janie Boydston.
Yes.
Patrick Kell.
Yes.
Wayne Johnson.
Yes.
Ivory Van.
Yes.
Mayor Coburn.
Yes, motion carries. Item number 6, please, Tammy.
Approve final payment on the Martin Luther King Street reconstruction project to Goodwin and Goodwin in the amount of $255,109.86, or take other necessary action.
Mr. Stewart.
Yes, this is the final payment on the Martin Luther King reconstruction project. We went through this in Public Works and Finance. I'll be glad to answer any question. We do recommend approval, and I understand Mr. Johnson has a statement.
Okay.
Really, on this project, Martin Luther King Street turned out great, but I'd just like to make sure the council was aware and our community was aware. I would really like for us to really reconsider using these engineers in the future. If you look, they're going to be doing our widening project, and I'd really like to make sure that we watch them in the future with doing 24th Street. If you look at the sidewalk project that was done, I mean, the work that was done by Goodman and Goodman was fantastic. But, you know, if you look at the little islands that was done on the walkways, it's something that we're going to have to address through Public Works to make sure that those island areas are not grown up with grass. And when we address this concern with them, they go, oh, that's an ADA issue, instead of really owning it and going, you know, yeah, we missed it. That was a design flaw. And I
Did
really
you say ADA?
Yeah, American Disability Act.
Okay, yeah.
Because, you know, if they would have just owned it and said, yeah, we should have made that material out of something else, because if you go by there now, those areas are grown up with weeds, and it was something that, you know, our Public Works Department cleaned up and made it cleaned up, and it looks good, but then they're going to grow up again. The other area, if you look at this change order amount, it's a substantial amount of money in a change order, and it's where the documents weren't quite clear enough to really hold the contractor accountable. And I think there's a couple of areas where we need to make sure that the documents is as clear as they possibly can be, where we hold the contractor accountable, or make sure that they're very clear in its intent. So I just make sure that the city council's aware of that and our community's aware of that we want to make sure the highest degree of our documents and holding our engineers responsible in the future.
I agree. I've got a follow-up question. Did Mr. Stewart, did you say that we would have a permanent solution for those islands going forward, that we could go back and do something as a city?
Yes, we're going to look at those internally as soon as this project is closed out. The item that's before you today is final payment to Goodwin and Goodwin, and they built it as designed, so we can't hold back on that. Once that's finalized, then we can go in as the city, because now it's our road, our right-of-way, our radiuses, and we can make those corrections.
And I'm a big proponent of live and learn.
Thank you.
Just want to learn once?
Yes, preferably.
And any of my comments do not reflect on our Public Works Department, nor on those that oversaw the project, because one, they done a fantastic job of overseeing and making sure that the work that was done on site was done to specifications, and also making sure that when there was any soft spots, it was addressed right there. So, you know, I mean, the job was done fantastic, but we just really need to watch in the future and make sure that you know, all the design is done on the upfront.
Okay.
Thank you.
Other comments? Do we have a motion on this? Okay, we need a motion on this.
Move for approval.
Second.
Motion and a second. Any comments further? Roll call.
Deputy Mayor James Scully.
Yes.
Janie Boydston.
Yes.
Patrick Kell.
Yes.
Wayne Johnson.
Yes.
Ivory Van.
Yes.
Mayor Coburn.
Yes, motion carries. Item number 7, please.
Hold a public hearing and take action on the approval of an ordinance rezoning the property located at 4301 West Okmulgee Avenue, more particularly described in the ordinance from C1 Local Commercial District to R4 Multifamily Residential District, and if approved, authorize staff to revise the official zoning map of the city to reflect said change or take other necessary action.
Mr. Garland, and we will consider ourselves in a public hearing.
Mayor, members of the council, the applicant is requesting approval to rezone the property from the C1 Local Commercial District to the R4 Multifamily Residential District. Property is located at 4301 West Okmulgee. It's on the south side of Okmulgee, just east of 44th Street. The reason for rezoning the property, the applicant is in the process of refinancing the existing apartments. During the refinancing process, the lender had requested that the property be rezoned to its current use, which is an apartment complex, as you can see in the picture. Previously, it was a non-conforming use. When the property was built, it was built underneath the C1 commercial zoning classification, which at that particular time did allow residential development. When we updated our zoning regulations, we changed that. Therefore, it became the non-conforming use. This item has been reviewed and recommended for approval by staff, Planning Commission, and Public Works Committee. Be glad to answer any questions.
Did we have anybody sign up to this item? We did not.
Move
Okay.
for approval.
We will close the public hearing. No one signed up to speak to this item. Council have question or comment?
Now I'll move for approval.
Okay.
Second.
Got a motion and a second. Any comment or question? Roll call.
Deputy Mayor James Scully.
Yes.
Janie Boydston.
Yes.
Patrick Kale.
Yes.
Wayne Johnson.
Yes.
Ivory Van.
Yes.
Mayor Coburn.
Yes, motion carries. Item number 8, and
Hold-
we will consider ourselves in a public hearing with this motion as well.
Hold a public hearing and take action on the approval of an ordinance rezoning the property located at 300 North 33rd Street, more particularly described in the ordinance from R1 Single Family Residential District to C1 Local Commercial District, and if approved, authorize staff to revise the official zoning map of the city to reflect said change or take other necessary action.
Mr. Garvin again, and we'll be in a public hearing.
Mayor, members of the council, the applicant is requesting approval to rezone the property from the R1 Single Family Residential District to the C1 Local Commercial District. This property is located at 300 North 33rd Street. It's on the northeast corner of 33rd and Court. The reason for rezoning the property, the existing commercial business, Landmark Cancer Center, is proposing to extend their existing parking area. Here's an aerial showing you the site, the Landmark Cancer Center. What's being highlighted is the proposed parking lot. The existing structure will be demolished, and the parking lot is large enough to put in approximately 28 spaces. As I talked about in Public Works, there were several questions and concerns that came up with this rezoning, so I'm going to try to briefly go through those. One was, could it be used only for a parking lot? And as I stated previously, once it's zoned C1, any use allowed in the C1 is allowed on the property. And C1 is the most restrictive commercial zoning we have, because typically it does abut residential areas. Next item was the landscaping. What's being highlighted in green, it will be the grass area along 33rd and Court is the right-of-way portion between the curb and the property line, which would be the edge of the parking lot. There is also a 6-foot green space buffer area required between the parking lot and the residential property to the north. Additionally, they are required to install 4 trees. Trees cannot be located within the right-of-way. They have to be on private property, so typically the buffer area is the location where the trees are installed. The applicant has also stated they would provide some shrubs or hedges along 33rd Street, which is not required by the landscaping ordinance. Next question was access or approach. They have 2 existing approaches on this end of the property. One is off of Court Street, one is off of 32nd Street. They will be used the existing approaches to get access to the proposed parking lot. No additional approaches will be installed. Question come up on maintenance. The parking lot is required to be maintained by the property owner. Site-proof fence. A site-proof fence is required between commercial and residential uses. It's a 6-foot solid screen fence. There was a question that come up in the Public Works about visibility of the fence in the front yard. As I stated, the fence would have to be installed according to the regulations, which states it cannot be any higher than 4 foot within that 25-foot setback area. So basically from the corner of the existing house, any additional forward to the property line could not be any higher than the 4 feet. And the reason for that is because of visibility, so the neighbors will have a view from their front yard. Next thing was utilities and easements. As far as utilities, water is running down 33rd Street and Court Street, and the sewer main is running between the commercial and residential uses. The parking lot can pave over the sewer line. They just cannot build any structures on the sewer. If the city has to get in and do any repair work, it will be up to the property owner to repair the parking lot if it is dug up or removed. Next question was foreclosure, and I'll let the applicant's representative, Drew Wilcoxon, address that in a few minutes. There was a question of whether a certificate of need was required. When this property was first built, they did approach us, made application. After reviewing it, it was determined that this facility did not meet the requirements for a certificate of need. In other words, it was not a hospital or an emergency care, emergency room type facility. So a certificate of need is not required. The comprehensive plan, if you look at the comprehensive plan, it states that along 32nd Street and Okmulgee, that we should encourage not only retail development, but professional uses and medical uses. It states that the hospital is the anchor facility for this area. If you read on the plan, it also states that we should strengthen and expand the medical uses along 32nd Street. Therefore, this does comply with the comprehensive plan. Staff, Planning Commission both recommended approval. Public Works Committee passed it without recommendation to this meeting. Be glad to answer any question. And again, Drew, representing the applicant, is present if you have any questions.
Okay, we have one person that signed up to speak to this item. Well, let's do that, and then we'll close the public hearing and allow council to ask questions at that point. Alex Wilson, would you like to approach the microphone, sir? And you'll have up to 5 minutes. Give us your name and your address, if you would, please.
My name is Alex Wilson. My address is P.O. Box 1067, and that's Muskogee 74402.
Okay, thank you, sir.
Thank you all for hearing me again. I'll try not to be redundant. I know that you all were here when I addressed you last week on this issue. I'm hoping Mr. Wilcoxon can provide some additional information on that pending foreclosure. That's one of our primary concerns in this. I don't know, this isn't like law, so I can't reserve 2 minutes for rebuttal after he speaks. But as far as that pending foreclosure goes, I did bring copies of the docket sheet for that case, as well as the motion for summary judgment that's currently pending, according to what I've been able to find as of an hour ago today. And they are asking for $48,000 in judgment against this property, which I think is pretty substantial and more than I even considered the first time around. And I'm happy to provide that. I've made extra copies for all of you, and I can give that to you in a moment for you to review and see for yourselves. It's a major concern for us on top of principled concerns that we have in the rezoning of this property. We firmly believe that it violates the R1 purposes that are listed in the Muskogee ordinances because it provides no order, no efficiency involved in a parking lot taking a bite out of a residentially zoned area. There's no functional relationship between that parking lot and all the houses on either side of it. In the R1 ordinance, it states that these are the goals of R1 zoning, and I would hope that we would focus on that and pursue that goal as they are stated in the ordinances. It violates the C1 goals and stated purposes that are in the ordinance. The C1 requires minimum disruption to residential areas. I think that huge bite out of the middle of a residential zoning area going up and down right there is not minimal disruption. Throwing a fence up along that wall so that you block the view of that house when somebody's backing out of the driveway from it, can't see cars coming, there are these concerns, that is a disruption for people on that. If a little kid is behind that fence and decides to run out in the middle of the street because they can't see what's out there and they get hit by a car, that's a disruption. I don't believe homes are allowed to have fences that go that far in and block views of their neighbors and other people driving up and down the road, and I wouldn't think that it would be fair to do that to these residential people that are living in this area currently. And furthermore, you might be able to address this a little bit. Looking over those ordinances, I don't know how that is classified, but my understanding from looking at those, for permitted use for a medical facility, it has to be zoned C2 from my reading of it. And I would assume that is a medical facility. I don't know how that's categorized according to the ordinances, but that would be a huge concern as well, putting a C2, and as he stated earlier, C1 commonly abuts to residential areas, and I understand that C2 specifically states it's for professional services in your ordinances. Extending that, since we don't know if that's going to be a parking lot, that's just the idea in our head right now, that's speculation of what it might be in the future. But if it is basically going to be part of a medical facility going forward, and somebody could maybe clarify that for me, my understanding from the ordinance is that it has to be zoned C2 for a medical facility to be there. I understand C1 is for medical offices, but that's not for professional services, that's just medical offices. And maybe one of you could clarify that for me. Moving forward, we do have concerns. The non-residential activity being in there, we are of the belief that that will affect the quality of life for the people that are living in those residences there. It'll negatively impact the value of their properties. It'll fundamentally alter the character of their neighborhood. And it materially diminishes their property values by making that material change to the way that structure, that harmonious structure was intended to be. And I know that some of my concerns have been described as speculative before. That's why I brought copies of this for you all to see. That's a very real concern, a $48,000 pending foreclosure. I am unaware of the status of the 3 liens that I identified. Mr. Wilcoxon might be able to address those issues. But I think as far as speculation goes, I have not heard one thing that would really warrant the rezoning of this property and support it other than that somebody has applied for it. I don't think that's enough to justify the rezoning, even if what I am concerned about is just speculation. I think the speculation that this will even be a parking lot, there's no guarantee, as he told you, C1 zoning doesn't guarantee that it'll be a parking lot, doesn't guarantee it'll be a drive-through smoke shop later on down the road. We don't know what it'll be, and no matter what it'll be, there is the very real possibility that it will affect the property values and affect the quality of life in that residential area. Finally, I hope you all really do take into consideration that pending foreclosure, those liens. If nothing else, those need to be released and addressed before this is rezoned and allowed to move forward. Those have to be considered, and I really would ask you all to really take that under advisement, take the principle and the goals of those ordinances under advisement, and consider those in making your decision. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Appreciate your input. I misstated that a minute ago. There are 2 people that had signed up to speak to this item. Mr. Wilcoxon, would you like to speak to this item as well? Give us your name, your address, please, and you will have 5 minutes also, sir.
I'm Andrew Wilcoxon. I represent the applicant, Shanika Breedlove. She would like to have her house rezoned so that she can sell it to Landmark Cancer Treatment Center and they can build this parking lot. It's a mischaracterization to say that there's a foreclosure pending on this property. I spoke with the plaintiff's lawyer in the only pending lawsuit there is, and he said they've been partially paid. The general contractor didn't pay a subcontractor on this, and he said it's going to be resolved. There's not a pending foreclosure. There are no pending foreclosures. The big problem with this is that when Landmark first started looking for a place to put the parking lot, they went to Mr. Endicott, and they couldn't strike a deal. So they went next door to Ms. Breedlove, and they struck a deal. We need the parking. We're a good neighbor. The Cancer Center is not open nights, weekends, creates no noise, no odors, hardly any traffic. Dr. Vazzaretti has served this community for 15 years and served it well. We need some parking. It's that simple. There are no hidden snares out there, hidden lawsuits. I contacted Pioneer Abstract and Title, and they did a title search on this just because I wanted to see if the liens are out there. There are no liens. The only lien that's of record was filed in 2014, and it's been released by operation of law, as your city attorney will tell you. So the pending lawsuit will be resolved. They've already been paid some money by the general contractor. I spoke with the attorney for them today. It's not going to be a problem. We spent over $2 million on this clinic. We're not going to let some beef with a concrete contractor throw this off the rails. And I've got Ms. Breedlove here, and I signed her up too, and I think she'd like to. Do you guys have any questions for me?
Anybody have a question or comment? I guess we need to close the public hearing at some point here and then open it up for that as well.
Would you like to hear from Ms. Breedlove?
Ms. Breedlove, do you have something you'd like to offer? In the time that allotted to the 5 minutes, you've got additional
I really did search everywhere to see what
3 minutes if we need to make comment.
Put you right in the line of fire.
Right, thank you.
Shanika, give us your name and your address as well, if you would.
Good evening, Mayor Coburn and City Council. I'm Shanika Breedlove. I on the property at 300 North 33rd Street since October of 2002. I am the head girls basketball coach at Muskogee High School, and am a long-term member of this community and concerned about the growth of the community. I feel like companies like Landmark will be beneficial to this area. And I just was thinking, I'm like, if we can get others to move here and, you know, I might get a 6-foot basketball girl to move in with them or something. But, you know, I've been employed with Muskogee Public Schools for the last 9 years, and just appreciative of everything tonight. And am hoping that you all approve this.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you for your comments. Given that that's the two people that have signed up to speak to this item, we will close the public hearing. Does council have question or comment?
I've got one question. Are we applying for the correct zoning here, Gary?
Yes, underneath our zoning regulations, C1 is appropriate for parking lot, which is what they're rezoning it for, is a parking lot. C1 also allows medical facilities. It does limit the size of the medical facility in the C1. It cannot be any larger than 5,000 square feet. Anything larger than that, you'd have to have a C2 or C3 zoning classification.
Okay. I've got a further comment. I think this facility is a wonderful asset for the city. Folks in the past have had to make a long drive for cancer treatments and such, where sometimes a 10 or 15 minute drive is pretty tough on somebody, but an hour drive or more is even more tough. I also would like to say that as a growing community, unfortunately, there's going to be people that aren't happy with the growth. It happens everywhere you develop and grow. And to try to do it in the most prudent and non-disturbing manner is the way to go. But you can't just shut down all development, especially when the community's growing out in certain areas. Maybe Chandler Street and the York area is starting to develop a little bit. The argument can be made that it's making the area more valuable for future commercial development, but I'm not going to say that argument's written in stone. Having said that, I sympathize with the local homeowner here, but I think this is a very reasonable request, and it's something that's needed in our community.
Other comments or questions?
Move for approval.
Got a motion?
I'll second.
Got a motion and a second. Is there additional comment or question? Mr. Garvin, you have any additional comment regarding?
No, sir.
Before we vote? Okay. Roll call.
Deputy Mayor James Scully.
Yes.
Janie Boydston.
Yes.
Patrick Hale.
Yes.
Wayne Johnson.
Yes.
Ivory Van.
Yes.
Mayor Coburn.
Yes, motion carries. Next item, Tammy. And my,
Mayor, could I ask Gary one question?
sure can.
Do we have, as a city, setback rules on fences?
Yes, and then actually they are the same for residential as commercial as far as how high
So
the
you can
fence
only
be
go
in the-
so far to the street?
Yeah, you cannot extend past the property line.
Thank you.
And then it's the same for residential and commercial, no higher than 4 feet until you get back to the corner of the house or the front yard setback.
Thank you.
Okay. Item number 9, and grab yourself a coffee and donuts. This is going to take a few minutes to read.
Consider approval of an ordinance of the City of Muskogee, Oklahoma, repealing Division 1, generally including Sections 2-99 through 2-111, and Division 2, administrative reorganization, including Sections 2-112 through 2-120, all within Chapter 2, Administration, Article 4, administrative departments and offices, all for the purpose of replacing the repealed provisions with a new division and sections pursuant hereto in this 2017 citywide reorganization and modernization ordinance, creating Division 1, administrative reorganization, creating Section 2-99, citation of division, creating Section 2-100, Office of the City Manager, establishing office and duties, creating Section 2-101, Administrative Departments and Divisions, establishing authority to create and maintain organizational structure, creating Sections 2-102, Office of the City Attorney, establishing office and duties, creating Section 2-103, Office of the City Clerk, establishing office duties and divisions, creating Section 2-104, Department of Public Works, establishing department and duties, creating Section 2-105, Department of Planning and Economic Development, establishing department and duties, creating Section 2-106, Department of Parks and Recreation, establishing department and duties, creating Section 2-107, Department of Human Resources, establishing department and duties, creating Section 2-108, Department of Information Technology, establishing department and duties, creating Section 2-109, Department of Finance, establishing department and duties, creating Section 2-110, Department of Fleet Management, establishing department and duties, creating Section 2-111, Department of Purchasing, establishing department and duties, creating Section 2-112, Department of Emergency Management, establishing department and duties, creating Section 2-113, Police Department, establishing department and duties, creating Section 2-114, Fire Department, establishing department and duties, creating Section 2-123, Other Divisions, establishing administrative divisions, reserving Sections 2-115 through 2-122 for future use, all within Chapter 2, Administration, Article 4, Administrative Departments and Offices, Division 1, Administrative Reorganization, providing for repealer, severability, codification, and setting an effective date.
Maybe we're going to give you an A+. That
She,
was well done.
she just passed her first test.
Mr. Tucker, do you want to elaborate on this
Sure.
agenda item?
Briefly, I know we covered this extensively in our last Public Works and Finance meeting last week, but this is the proposed 2017 citywide reorganization and modernization ordinance. It will replace the 2015 version that was created under a prior administration. This ordinance does not create any sweeping changes. It effectively brings back things the way that they were prior to that 2014 modernization ordinance, but also provides a bit more clarity for the manager in creating certain divisions within the departments. Initially, the ordinance creates 3 offices: clerk, attorney, and manager, and those are the 3 council appointees. Additionally, it creates every other department in the city, and what's new is it creates all of the divisions within the city. It also provides the manager the authority in writing to move those, the reporting structure of departments and divisions as he sees fit. As I said, this does not really create any sweeping changes because the manager already has that authority by charter. However, since it was not clarified within the prior ordinance nor the 2014 version of the same name, we thought it prudent to go ahead and clarify all of those aspects just so that there is no question in the future. Additionally, since the manager has been vested with this authority specified within the ordinance, any changes that he makes, he will be required to notify the council through the budget process. And so a new organizational chart showing any modifications to what has been done previously will be required to be attached to the city's budget as it is adopted each year. Other than that, I'm happy to answer any questions, but I recommend approval.
Thank you, sir. Question or comment?
Yes, sir. Mr. Tucker has seen, as usual, a problem and quickly identified the solution. I want to thank him for his hard work. It was, imagine all the reading that went into it, imagine all the work that went into making it happen. So thank you, Mr. Tucker.
Move for approval.
A motion? Got a second? Is there comment or question? Roll call.
Deputy Mayor James Scully.
Yes.
Janie Boydston.
Yes.
Patrick Kale.
Yes?
Wayne Johnson.
Yes.
Ivory Van.
Yes.
Mayor Coburn.
Yes, motion carries. Item number 10.
Consider approval of final payment in the amount of $46,534 to Williams Contracting, Inc. for new restrooms completed at Robinson and Honor Heights Park, or take other necessary action.
Mr. Stewart, this is your item.
Yes, this item is one that was on the agenda a while back, and was agreed upon that we would put together group of representatives to go out and look at the restrooms to ensure that they were completed properly. That was with Councilor Van, Councilor Hall, our contractor Travis Williams, Larry Fennell from the Parks Department, and Billy Coffer, and myself. We went out, we toured both facilities, we developed a punch list. That punch list was given to the contractor. Every item on that punch list has been satisfied. We did go back and tour the facilities again. Councilor Van and myself went back with the punch list and ensured that all items had been satisfied. So we recommend approval, and we'll answer any questions if needed.
Okay. Is there a question or comment regarding this item?
Mr. Mayor, may I be recognized?
Yes, sir.
You know, it's been a long, long time coming. When we finally got there. Kind of feel like Jesus on the cross. It's finished. And I'd like to thank Councilman Johnson, Councilman Hall, and Councilman Gully for having enough faith in me to saying when I said something was wrong, they agreed with me. And I'd like to thank the council and everyone up here now that know that they knew something was wrong down there, that for backing me up. I really appreciate that. And I'd like to thank also the City of Muskogee Foundation, the Ruby family, for making this possible for both parks, Honor Heights and Robertson Park. I know our citizens of Muskogee definitely appreciates it because they've done like I say, there's some nice bathrooms. And I am, like I say, it's been a long time coming. This right here is a porta potty. But after tonight, you won't have to see this porta potty at City Council no more. We're gonna lay it down. This right here, I think my toilet's a little cuter than the ones at the park. Don't y'all? I got a little thing where we can, scrub the toilet. But after tonight, we won't have to look at this either anymore. So on behalf of our citizens of Muskogee, I'm just so appreciative, and I thank God that He made a way, He opened doors for us to get these bathrooms in both parks. And don't tell me what prayer can't do, because God definitely opened the doors for us, and we definitely appreciate also the Williams Contracting Company for coming back and doing what they were supposed to do. So I know people thought I was going to come up here and raise Cain tonight, but I'm happy because for our community and the city of Muskogee, we definitely have some nice facilities. And again, thank you, City Council, and Mayor, and Roy, and everyone up here, and Mr. Stewart, and all the people that went out and looked at the punch list to get this thing approved tonight. I want to thank you deeply from my heart, personally, because like I said, I have no reason to come up here and lie. I try as a councilman to look after our citizens, and we definitely proved that. We looked out for our citizens. So thank you again. I'll turn the floor back over to you, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you, sir. Do I hear a motion regarding this?
Are you going to make the motion?
I'll make the motion that we approve Robertson Park and Honor Heights Park to give the final payment to Williams Construction.
Ooh, man.
I'll second it.
This is a banner night. We got a motion and a second. Is there other comments regarding this item? Roll call.
Deputy Mayor James Scully.
Yes.
Janie Boydston.
Yes.
Patrick Kale.
Yes.
Wayne Johnson.
Yes.
Ivory Van.
Yes.
Mayor Coburn.
Yes, and the motion carries. Item number 11.
Consider approval of the appointment of John Newby to the Chamber of Commerce Committee for Convention and Tourism to serve a 3-year term beginning April 1, 2017 and ending on March 31, 2020, replacing Johnny Teehee, or take other necessary action.
Councilor Patrick Kale.
Yes, ever since Mr. Newby's come to our community, he's been very interested, and he's taken a lot of initiative and been involved in various interests. I think that they would welcome his insight and participation at the tourism, and I think being affiliated with the newspaper will lend an air of extra transparency to all that goes on there, and his willingness to participate is appreciated, and I'd like to nominate him for this position.
Second.
On the motion, we have a second. Any comment or question? Roll call.
Deputy Mayor James Scully.
Yes.
Janie Boydston.
Yes.
Patrick Kale.
Yes.
Wayne Johnson.
Yes.
Ivory Van.
Yes.
Mayor Coburn.
Yes, motion carries. We're now to the portion of our meeting where we recognize those citizens that wish to speak, and we have actually 4 people that have signed up to speak. let's take the firefighters first. Jody Moore, would you like to approach the microphone, sir? Give us your name and your address, if you would, and you'll have 3 minutes. And with non-agenda items, everybody understands that we don't have the opportunity to question or comment on those. We just hear what you're going to say. Okay?
All right, my name's Jody Moore, P.O. Box 1082, Muskogee. Coming up here before you guys regarding some concerns for citizens as well as firefighters. You guys probably know that we're 2 firefighters short. So some of our concerns as far as the public aspect of it goes is, you know, we're getting in the season when guys take off work for vacation and things they've earned over the years. So with that being said, when we are short manpower, we punch 1 or 2 trucks out of service. So not leaving the city uncovered, but as far as when we have multiple alarms, things like that, it'll definitely cut services to other sides of the city, depending on what side the city the alarm is actually on. Roughly, Muskogee, you guys know, is 38 to 40 square miles. We've taken in 9 to 12 more square miles that we provide fire protection north of the city, all the way to the Arkansas River. So again, when we respond in those areas, it takes away resources from the city. And then again, taken away from our fire prevention and public education side of it as well. So multiple alarms, things like that. With less trucks, obviously, we're going to do not as much as we was able to cover for. Ice storms, thunderstorms, things like that. We have multiple alarms in a short amount of time. Last year we had a flooding event. We had 22 water rescues within an hour, and that depletes our resources very quickly. So you guys know when the big windstorm took down Kurt Small, we had actually calls waiting at that point in time. Obviously prioritizing calls to figure out which ones were obviously the worst ones so we could respond to those accordingly. Extended fire alarms that we go to, Brockway, several years back, we had guys out there 6 hours or so. Again, almost every truck in town was out of service. And again, when it comes down to another structure fire, which we respond 3 engine companies and a rescue to those, obviously we only have 7 in town. So when you start taking those away, then we can no longer provide an adequate service that we're used to providing and you guys are used to seeing. We provide mutual aid for the county. Any county volunteer fire departments that request our assistance, we go out in the county and provide them, whether it be a rescue truck, whether it be an engine company, and we provide them with that service as well. So I think my time's right up, but anyway, we have another one coming up to speak. Thank you, guys.
Thank you, sir. Chance Parker, would you give us your name and your address, sir, and then you will have 3 minutes.
All right, Chance Parker, 2562, P.O. Box 2562, Muskogee. All right, my name's Chance Parker. We're here, Captain Moore's already been talking about the safety aspect of the lacking of the 2 men that we've already talked about on there, but I'm going to give you a little bit of information just on a little bit of financial information that may help you out a little bit too. But our concerns mainly are the fact that the 2 firefighters that we're lacking, as far as need to be filled, not only for staffing purposes, but just insurance purposes and things like that. So currently, underneath the 2016-2017 budget, the budget was already set up for 94 firefighters. That's how many firefighters we have on staff. Currently, we are at 92 firefighters. So when we have 92 firefighters, we have 2 basically that need to be hired that are remaining on that. So over the last fiscal year that we were in from 2016-2017, we had 7 firefighters retire. These 7 that have retired, we have 5 that have been hired back, lacking the 2 that are still outstanding on there. Out of the 7 that were resigned or retired, 4 were entry level, 1 was a driver, 1 was a captain, 1 was a fire marshal. Those combined salaries were right in the neighborhood of $334,000. With the replacement of the firefighters that have come on, the 5, plus the 2 more that have come on, their total salaries after they get the probationary year in, not before or after, is $260,000, which basically means that with these new guys coming on, we are at additional, or actually less than $70,000 of our original budget that we decided for last year. So with that being said on there, I'm also wanting to talk about the different insurance. Everybody's pretty familiar with the ISO ratings that we're dealing with. The ISO ratings pretty much go into effect every 5 to 6 years. Our last ISO rating was in 2012. We're coming up with that new insurance approval, which is next year. The ISO rating is basically a scale of 1 to 10 rating on how well your city, individual, rural area is protected. So we are currently at ISO 2. There are only 3 cities in the state of Oklahoma that have an ISO 2. The lower the number, the better for your insurance purposes. So basically it makes the lower the number, the better insurance rate. So with the ISO 2, just to give you a little bit of example on this, it's broken up into 3 different parts. Fire services at 50%, primarily depending on manpower, and then you also have equipment and everything else that's necessary to function as a fire department. 40% is water supply.
Be aware your time is running.
I'm pretty much coming to the close.
Okay.
Can I ask for a minute extension?
I don't know. Let's get to the end and see where you're at.
Okay. 10% is efficiency on the 911. I'm at my end.
Mr. Mayor, can we personally ask for extension point?
We'll need to vote on it because that's changing rules.
Right.
Is that right, Mr. Tucker? Okay.
So is that a motion?
We've got a motion, I guess, with
Second.
that. Motion and a second. Is there comment? Roll call.
Deputy Mayor James Scully.
Yes.
Janie Boydston.
Yes.
Patrick Kale.
Yes.
Wayne Johnson.
Yes.
Ivory Van.
Yes.
Mayor Coburn.
Yes, motion carries. Yes, sir, you have additional minute.
All right, thank you. I'll keep it brief. In leaving you with this, I've called recently just my insurance agent in general today, and I was trying to give him, or just to give me a brief rundown what the ISO rating means, basically when they're comparing and stuff, and what the difference would be between our ISO 2 that we're currently under and ISO 3. And he said it could mean as much as $100 to $150 per citizen, or actually per resident of Muskogee here. So if we have basically 38,000 residents, and we're doing somewhere around 2.5 to 3 members per household on there, it breaks us down to around 12,000 to 14,000 residents. And I know the majority of them or half of them may be apartment complexes or broken down different, so even dividing that in 2. So that means somewhere in the neighborhood of 7,500 residents, being conservative, at $100 per person or $100 per resident rate, you're looking at a savings of $750,000 to $1 million just for the citizens.
Okay.
So
Since your additional minute is up, sir.
I'm finished.
Okay,
Thank you very much.
thank you. Blake Weldon. Blake Weldon? Not going to speak? Okay. Ivory Van, you had signed up to speak. Have you already said what you were going to say on the thank you?
No. One more.
Name and address, sir. You'll have 2 minutes.
Ivory
3
Van,
minutes.
911 Holden, Muskogee, Oklahoma. I'd just like to make some thank yous tonight to Mr. Miller, to Mike Stewart, Gary Garvin. I work with these gentlemen all the time during the daytime. I go out and ride with Mr. Stewart, and we look at different situations here in the city of Muskogee, not only in Ward 3. Well, I venture out. I'm sorry. We go to just about every ward. And I'd just like to thank them for the citizens, the employees of Muskogee. We have some great employees. And when we go out and look at things, I report it to them because I can't tell the employees what to do. And I just wanted to thank them tonight, for everything they do for our city. And I'm going to do a slideshow. I don't know if it'll be next council or council after that, but I'm going to prepare a slideshow to show you what our employees do that works on the public works side and the water department side. To show you their work, their craftsmanship. They really do some good work. And like I say, not only the street department, public works, like I say, Mr. Garvin, I had to ask him for different things about the housing projects and stuff like that, and he always provided me with answers. And I'd like to thank all the departments that work for the city, fire department, police department. I'm not trying to, I know I get calling names and leaving somebody out, but I just say all the people, 400-some people that work for the city of Muskogee. We just like to say thank you from a councilman that really cares. So on behalf of myself and our other councilmen up there, I know we all care. We just like to say thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Van. Item number 12A.
Consider an executive session to discuss and take possible action on the following. Pursuant to Section 307C10, Title 25, Oklahoma statutes, consider convening an executive session for the purpose of conferring on matters pertaining to economic development within the city of Muskogee, including an update on retail development prospects, and if necessary, take appropriate action in open session.
We would now consider a motion regarding executive session.
So move.
Second.
Got a motion and a second. Any comments? Roll call, please.
Deputy Mayor James Scully.
Yes.
Janie Boydston. Patrick Cale.
Yes.
Wayne Johnson.
Yes.
Ivory Van.
Yes.
Mayor Coburn.
Yes, motion carries. We will now consider ourselves in executive session. We will now reconvene out of executive session. Roll call, please.
Mayor Bob Coburn.
Here.
Deputy Mayor James Scully.
Here.
Dan Hall. Marlon Coleman. Janie Boydston.
Here.
Wayne Johnson.
Here.
Patrick Cale.
Here.
Ivory Van.
Here.
Jared Green.
Regarding item number 12A.
Thank you, Mayor. Pursuant to Section 307C10, Title 25 Oklahoma statutes, the City Council did convene an executive session to discuss matters pertaining to economic development within the city, particularly as it relates to an update on retail development prospects. The council was briefed on those prospects and has had the opportunity to discuss it fully. However, it does not appear that any action is necessary at this time. Mayor?
That concludes our agenda for today, and have a great spring break week.